Throughout the history of Weekly Shonen Jump, talented artists have come and gone, making their mark on the magazine and inspiring generations of artists with not only the way that they make their illustrations, but with the way they command the colors they put on display. With each artist that brings something new to the table, there's a rookie taking inspiration from them, learning from them, honing their skills, and crafting their style so that one day they can tell the story that they have created. When I was in the 7th grade, I took a massive nosedive into the shonen category, taking almost anything that I could get. And after doing some general research, I quickly came across this magazine called Weekly Shonen Jump, a manga publishing magazine that has been home to some of the greatest manga series to have ever been made. And it turns out that a majority of the series that I had either A, heard of, B, gotten into, or C, planned to get into were from this magazine. Series like One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, Death Note, Dragon Ball, hell, even Rosario Vampire is from this friggin' magazine. And taking a look at the series that have run within Weekly Shonen Jump, there is no shortage of just amazing and talented artists who have, as I've stated, not only brought something new to the table, but have inspired countless generations to come. And for the last 10 years, there has been a single artist in Jump who has stood out from the rest, creating a style that is flexible not only for any scene needed, but creating a style that is also applicable to any character inside and outside of their own series. The artist that I'm talking about is none other than the author of My Hero Academia, Kohei Horikoshi. So before we can fully delve into the video, first we gotta answer a question. Who is Kohei Horikoshi? I believe that the best way to answer this is just to simply say that Horikoshi is a massive nerd. And I am in no way, shape, and form trying to call the man out because I am in no position to talk, but it's true. The man himself is just a gigantic nerd. Being born in 1986, he was at the perfect age to not only experience the golden age of Weekly Shonen Jump, but the bronze age of Western comics, as is apparent by his fanboy-like love for both mediums, going as far as to even making references to these mediums within his own works. With his favorite superhero being Spider-Man and his favorite manga series being Naruto, it is absolutely no wonder that falling in love with this medium at a very young age was not only very easy to do, but also very influential, as it wouldn't be until soon after that he would eventually pick up a pen and start drawing, even going as far as to submitting an illustration he made of the character Smoker from One Piece into a Usopp's Pirate Gallery. The Usopp's Pirate Gallery is a section of the One Piece manga where fans can submit their fan art to Oda to have the chance of it being within the volume, and lo and behold, Horikoshi's made it in. This is one of, if not the earliest points of Horikoshi's art career that we can track back to. And speaking about his art career, let's take a look at his start in the manga world. Horikoshi would get his start in the manga industry being an assistant to Yasuke Tanaka back in May of 2007. But it wouldn't be until 4 months later that Horikoshi would debut with his very first one-shot titled Tenko. And as we can see, this is a very different art style than the one we are all familiar with it almost looking a lot like Naruto instead of anything we know from Horikoshi. Which, considering that his favorite manga series is Naruto, it's not really that surprising that his artwork would resonate with that art style, but I digress. If we actually take a look at this one-shot, we can find some characteristics that would eventually become synonymous with Horikoshi's modern art style. The first 3 things that stand out are the eyes, the mouth, and the line art, specifically the solidity of it. All throughout the one-shot, it's very evident that Horikoshi likes using thicker lines for his illustrations, primarily around the eyes and the mouth, which makes a lot of sense because the face is what gives the reader the proper expression that the author is trying to deliver to the scene. And when it comes to characters' faces, Horikoshi is very deliberate with the eyes he will give certain characters. Dependent on the character's personality, the shape of their eyes will follow a specific formula. If the character is more stoic or quiet, then they're more likely to get smaller or closed eyes. But if the character is happy or bubbly or goofy, then they're more likely to get big all round eyes, especially the main characters of Horikoshi's works. And it doesn't matter if they're homeless, an anthropomorphic rabbit, a princess lookalike, or even a boy who just wants to become the world's greatest hero and put smiles on people's faces. And you know, speaking of smiles, Horikoshi loves to draw mouths. mouths, sometimes making them as extra and dynamic as possible. One of, if not the best examples of this is with Bakugo. Bakugo's explosive personality allows Horikoshi to have an absolute field day, making him look as animated and sadistic as can be, which really goes to show how much Horikoshi has grown as an artist ever since making Tenko. One strength that Horikoshi excels at is giving the characters the proper facial expressions that not only enhance the scene at hand, but also enhance the reader's experience. This is a strength that was not present during Tenko, and it wouldn't be until his very next one-shot titled My Hero that we would see the birth of this strength. All throughout My Hero, we see designs that feel almost foreign to anything we saw in Tenko. And on top of that, we see a massive step forward in Horikoshi's art style, with the art in this one feeling a lot more refined and better understood by Horikoshi himself. And look, I'm gonna be real with y'all, I don't know what the hell this man did between the almost 5-month time span of him going from this one shot to this one shot, but oh my god, did he keep at it, because after 2 more years and 2 more one-shots, he would go on to create his very first series published in Weekly Shonen Jump. Oumagadoki Zoo is the first project that Horikoshi gave it his all in almost every single artistic aspect that you can think of. I'm talking the colors, the shading, the expression, the line art, the paneling. Oh, it's all so good. He's cooking. And even if the series only ran for a short time span of 9 months, you can see the difference between the first chapter and the last chapter, primarily within the main character, Aoi Hana. This is how she looked at the start of it, and this is how she looked at the end of it. At the start of the series, Horikoshi would go crazy with the highlights in her hair and give them a bigger middle section along with some more details in her eyes. But at the end of the series, he would simmer down the middle section of the highlights to make the ends longer, along with giving the eyes just kind of one flat color. Look, I'm not saying that it's a massive change, but it's there. So for those of you who are hoping for a bigger change, we're actually going to take a jump over to 2012 and take a look at his next series that would run in Weekly Shonen Jump titled Barrage. This is the point in Horikoshi's career where he truly found his art style and would continue to evolve it. To put it into perspective, if Oumagadoki Zoo is the sketch of an art piece, then Barrage is the line art of that same art piece. Comparing the last volume cover of Oumagadoki to the first volume cover of Barrage, it's very evident that Horikoshi is now going all in when it comes to line art and shading. In Oumagadoki, Horikoshi for the most part kept everything relatively simple, but in Barrage, he took that knob and turned it up to an 11 out of a possible 5 when delivering the brand new art style. In this brand new art style, Horikoshi's shading is a lot more apparent and much more visible in comparison to the smoother shading that he had in Oumagadoki. And while nothing drastically changed about Horikoshi's line art, at least in the terms of how it looks, how he now applies it in Barrage perfectly complements the colors on display, working hand in hand with them. And last but not least, we now, after how many years of Horikoshi doing manga, have peak faces. And this is something that carries over flawlessly into Horikoshi's next series that you might have heard of. It's a little series called My Hero Academia. One thing that I believe Horikoshi does flawlessly in My Hero Academia is the character design. Whether it's giving the characters the perfect face that matches their personality or designing the characters and their overall costumes, Horikoshi is a master of it all. All throughout My Hero Academia, we are shown that Horikoshi not only understands the characters enough to portray them properly, but also has a very creative way of designing a character based off of, well, their character. And I believe there is no better example of this than the entirety of Class 1A. While I'm sure the argument can be made that Horikoshi created too many characters for us to follow in Class 1A, you cannot deny the fact that every single one of those classmates feel like their own individual person when it comes to their design. And I'm not talking about the obvious, like, oh, that one has black hair and that one has red hair, that's a boy and that's a girl. I'm talking straight up, Aoyama and Sero are polar opposites in design just because of the fact that they are two different people. And trust me, I understand how inherently stupid that sounds and that some of you might be saying, well, no shit, Egan, I'd hope they'd be different because they're different people. But I want you to think about like 99% of the cast of Naruto and Bleach. Let that one sink in. Because in a handful of other popular shonen series like Naruto or Bleach, the authors will just straight up give like 90% of the cast either the same eyes or the same face as everyone else. else. And now you might be saying, well, Egan, no duh, that's how art style works. And trust me, I understand that fully. And I'm not saying that any mangaka that has this kind of approach is either bad or lazy. I'm just saying that when there's a variety, it's apparent and should be acknowledged. Another thing that should be acknowledged is the level of expertise and understanding that Horikoshi has when it comes down to laying down the colors of an art piece. Horikoshi has one of, if not the most pleasing art styles to look at, and I believe a major contributing factor of this is due to how he lays down the colors and the shading of his art. Let's take a look at an example of what I'm talking about. This is the second volume cover of another shonen manga series titled Black Clover, and there are 3 characters on it that I want to focus on. Those characters being Asta, Noelle, and Yuno. I want you to look at them and how they're drawn by the author of Black Clover, Yuki Tabata. And now I want you to take a look at how Horikoshi draws them. I don't think it's a hot take to say that they look way better in Horikoshi's art style than they do in Tabata's. And I am in no way calling out Tabata or saying even that he's a bad artist, as I actually prefer Black Clover a lot more than I do My Hero Academia. But I cannot sit here and lie to myself and say that one doesn't look better than the other. And that was still in the earlier stages of My Hero Academia. Horikoshi has improved immensely since that was made.
I want to real quickly issue a slight spoiler warning for season 6 of My Hero Academia, so if you haven't watched that, you've been warned. With that being said, moving on.
We're going to be taking a look at some of the volume covers of My Hero Academia so that we can clearly and easily see the improvement that Horikoshi has made. Ever since the Paranormal Liberation War arc started in the manga, Horikoshi has just casually decided to become a madman with how incredible some of these volume covers are looking. The fact that Horikoshi can go from a volume cover that looks like this, that is so meticulously colored but is so coherent at the same time, to the very next volume cover looking like this, is insane. And it only gets better because the next one is this one, and then you got this one, and then this one, but this one, oh my god. Horikoshi somehow went from making Deku look like a baby's ass in terms of how smooth he is, to making him look like something straight out of a fucking horror comic.
And trust me, I would love to continue showing you guys some of the more recent volume covers, but I'm trying to be nice for the anime onlys, even though they should really be reading the manga because they would be doing themselves a big favor. But
I digress, because I gotta deliver my final thoughts and wrap up this video. At the end of the day, art is subjective, and not everybody is gonna share the same opinion as the next person. But maybe after watching this video, there's some of you out there who not only appreciate Horikoshi's art just a little bit more, and maybe there's some of you out there who think that Kohei Horikoshi is the best artist in Weekly Shonen Jump.